Good morning, welcome to a morning outlook. This is Kim Watson speaking on the 24th of February. So, we've unfortunately seen Russia starting its action against Ukraine military areas to start with, at least, overnight, which is causing some ripples, and I would say ripples as opposed to quite what I probably expected on some of these currencies and etc. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Anyway, let's have a look at other risk events, which are very minor relatively when it comes to what's going on there. The other market risk events then, looking at today. And today we have the Bank of England governor speaking at 1:15 where that's happened. Sorry, that's afternoon, beg your pardon, that hasn't happened, and he is due to deliver a pre-recorded opening remarks at Bank of England's first annual Bear Conference. Okay, that's not going to be as pre-recorded as well. Probably much of the same as what we've heard from him, but I'd watch out for that. GDP, US preliminary GDP, this is the second reading, is due out. Expected to come in at 7% versus 6.9 forecast, and unemployment claims coming out there as well. Not really the weekly figures don't really affect us too much. Crude oil inventories will expected to come in at -1 million. We'll see what happens there. And we got some Fed speakers at 5. Well, a Fed speaker at 5 there. Due to speak about the economic outlook and monetary policy. So there we go. That certainly could create some volatility with Mester speaking at 5. Most likely going to repeat what he's already said elsewhere post the Fed meeting, but all the same, things change, and he might throw a curveball in there. You never know. Okay, let's have a look at the markets themselves now. To be fair, on the forex market here, I did expect the euro to be a lot further down if this if this happened in terms of the Russia-Ukraine situation. However, it's come off, but seems a modest, a relatively modest movement. Relatively, we have put lower highs, lower lows in, so it's still in that weak sort of sign. It's seen a bounce from where it is at the moment. Now, apparently, it's a full-scale invasion that the Ukrainians are reporting. So we'll see what comes of this during the day, and the more news that comes out, the more potential risk we've got on the euro. But for now, as we look at it, it does look bearish. We could get a continuation. I'm wary because the markets may sort themselves out effectively, and I think for a lot of people it was expected, but as I say, we could still see this running off further south. Euro, the pound. Okay, so the pound breaking the absolute lows there, out of its range. Now it's been sitting in this range for a long time here. This morning it's broken. Yesterday it was already running southbound anyway. It's like the euro was already running to the downside, and it's just helped it on its way. It's broken. I had this regression line that was sort of sitting on there. It's broken out of that now, and the trend from what was an upward trend has definitely it's come back, retested that range and rolled over. So this will actually come off now. I'll take that away because it's just noise on the chart. But lower highs, strong move down. The pound is actually seeing more of an effect than the euro, which to a degree, well, I suppose it's quite possible, and it is happening. But the euro, a partial safety currency, it's seen as. So there we are. Anyway, lower highs, lower lows. I can't really do anything. I'd be looking for retracements. The downward move, as I said, was already there leading into these movements. So retracements for me may give opportunities for further selling. The dollar yen. Yesterday we saw it starting to move downward. This morning it's already bolted somewhat. Lower highs again, lower highs, lower lows. This is the one of the safety currencies. Not really, I mean, it has moved over, but not really flown at this stage. It has really stayed pretty much in the trend it's been sitting in over the last week or so. So, yeah, it does look bearish at this stage. I'm not going anything lower on that because I wouldn't day trade it anyway. Aussie dollar was doing pretty well into yesterday, but then it was starting. I mean, it ran back into these prior highs. Quite a pivotal area around here. I talk about pivots and everything else all the time because they are so important, and this one is one of them. It's a level of horizontal resistance, of course, and it's run into it. It's got its monthly pivot there. It's got the 500, quite a lot of confluence there. It's reacted to it yesterday in the afternoon, and we've seen it pretty cleanly selling off here, heading down at the moment towards its weekly pivot there. So lower highs, lower lows, say looking soft, but slowing up here. So these markets are all slowed up a bit. We've seen the initial reaction. Canadian dollar broken out the top at last. Yesterday it had been strengthening, so although it did come back later in the afternoon somewhat, but it had been strengthening. But at the moment it's pushing up. It's not a great shocker in the whole shape of things here. It's been knocking on the door for so long on the upside there, and it's finally broken. Now it's been in, let's say, quite a mess. In fact, let's just take that other line off there so we're not blinding ourselves with rubbish. Higher lows, higher highs is the sort of picture I can see through this sort of last couple of weeks now on the 4 hourlies, and it does look like retracements might just get bought into. Got to be a bit careful because we get a bit ahead of ourselves because everything's already moved and moving, and so sometimes in these markets they just completely reverse. So just step carefully. A retracement might be something more than a retracement, and it may be a reversal. There's a subject to cover. When do retracements become reversals? Anyway, for now, still shoving up there for the CAD. Slowing up though. The last we'll see how it runs through this London session when it really comes on tap properly. Okay. That's the currencies there. Of course, we've seen reaction in other markets. Let's have a look at the commodities, and this is what gold's there for. He says this is what we expect, and no surprise, gold has broken out. Let's just come back to the daily. Big button. There you go. Broken out its monthly R3. They're heading off to monthly R4 at this rate, but there's absolutely no surprise about this at all, the way things are going. In fact, it's broken now through some of the previous, this is on a weekly bar, a weekly chart, and you see we've broken through the previous key highs. This really now sits, I'm going to just leave it there for a moment, but it sits around that 1960 area. But at the rate gold is moving, it's been gradually pitching its way up there. It could push on further, but the expected news has happened, I suppose, so that's why I'm concerned. I say concerned, but thinking that some things may just roll back on themselves. But for now, gold is looking strong and positive, but steep. And that the steeper it goes, often the quicker it just sort of does a retrace. So be careful. Okay, that's gold. Oil, another one that it's not pushed. I mean, I know Brent crude's pushed through $100, but we've not seen crude here. It was trying to do something yesterday, but it was quite minor yesterday in terms of the price action. But it gave it back there at on the 4 o'clock candle. It started pushing, but as I said, for me, oil has been a bit of a weird one to trade. It's obviously back in an upward route here. Let me just take this off so don't confuse anyone. There we go. So the higher lows, this is the key sort of movement at the moment. It's broken out the top of any range of any can't even put my the terms on it, it's broken out for now. Here we go, out of this range here, but again, we just might see things coming back a little bit. Running through here, yes, it's very major, but well, how much it's going to affect, we'll see. For now, oil pulling back. Yeah, as I say, I'm suspicious of the moves. Full stop. The more I look through these markets they've gone through, will they continue? Right. Okay. That's looking at the commodities side there. Okay, straight on to crypto, and I'm on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin's down quite a way today. It did reverse and turn around yesterday. It was looking positive at one stage, sold off again. It was there was the beginnings of something had started yesterday, and it's sold off, coming back towards where I expect it to come anyway. So it's really filling its the expectations of a softer coin, and pretty much you'll see everything running in the same sort of direction. We haven't broken for Bitcoin and Ether, and we haven't pushed through those lows yet, which will make it even softer. It might just tip some more people out of the trade. We'll see more selling coming through. It's pretty fearful on the market out there in terms of the sentiment for the retail traders predominantly. Pretty fearful looking traders. In fact, Bitcoin was last week's analysis on the options and futures was quite positive from the big money, but either way it doesn't really matter, because at the moment these are being sold, and I should imagine some big money's having to sell as well, as they adjust their positions. Right, Cardano has been selling off stronger anyway, and has already broken those prior lows, and it is the one of the weakest of the bunch that I look at here. BNB or Binance again breaking the lows there. So what looks sort of promising a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, has soon become really quite bearish again for now. Okay, that's the Bitcoin part of the world. Let's look at the indices. We'll start off looking at Asian indices, and again, no major surprise here. I've drawn a trend line on there yesterday. It's been looking weak, and it's just these markets are going to go down anyway. The news wasn't really driving them. It's what's actually happening, the trends that are happening. They're well into the markets anyway, and they're just really continuing, and it's probably a bit of a catalyst to move things a bit quicker. But when you look at the Nikkei 225, it's not moved significantly compared to the 27th of Jan. When you look at things, markets haven't moved that much. No point looking at the FTSE. The FTSE had pushed up yesterday eventually, but had been selling off. I would expect these to be down. Let's have a look. There we go. So what we saw with the DAX, yesterday had come and retested the underside of the trend line there. It's a lovely testing point, and has sold off pretty quickly straight from that. It was doing that yesterday afternoon, and we're just seeing a continuation here. The CAC, similar picture in terms of a retrace there, and then the selling coming through. Although the retrace, a different horizontal support there. It's because we're in a rising trend. But anyway, it's looking soft, but they were looking soft already. S&P is looking soft here, and looking at the Nasdaq there, got data missing. Well, it's weird, but anyway, selling off there as well. Must be, yeah. Anyway, so continues to sell off. So Nifty 50, you're not going to escape either. There we go. It's a real big sell-off there. So traders moving out the equity markets, but they're already on their way. Looking at the government bonds, US T-bills, no surprise to see these coming down. The yields, as traders are moving back towards them, or slowing up their selling, and well, we've seen that reaction. We've seen that test of that yesterday. We could see a further move down here. Now, obviously, you're not trading the yields or whatever else, but this gives me a bit of a barometer on the markets and the risk and the thoughts coming through here. Even this has bounced back up from its lows there, so as it digests the news and what's happening, it's moving accordingly. Surely oil has lost. Okay, well, I'm finished here anyway. We'll just look at the FTSE as it's open, and yeah, there's no shock there that it's sold off quite strongly this morning, and it might push through a little bit further, but I should be wary of it retracing quite sharply as well on these movements. But it's still, well, it was changing direction previously. Has oil lost its momentum? I wouldn't have said that. I mean, the current daily bars, we're not even finished a day, and it's significantly higher than the previous, which is suggesting that's quite a bit of momentum coming through there. I haven't got volume on the volume's been pretty steady overall through all this chop and everything else. In fact, we're on a bar that's not even completely finished here. It's pushing back. It was getting toppy, John, I believe, in terms of the price levels, bearing in mind the volumes coming in and the forecast that come March, April there would be surpluses potentially, but I'm sure that's slowed down that idea at the moment. But yeah, it's not one to short for me, but at the same time it has been quite toppy. I'd need to wait a long time before quite a while before I started selling oil. Okay, that's it for me. I wish you a great day's trading. Stay safe and take care. Bye for now.